Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like tonight's film, 1972's What Have You Done to Solange? What Have You Done to Solange? This is put out by Arrow on Blu-ray and DVD, North American or region, actually region 1 and 2, A and B release here. Pick this up in the 50% off sale from a Tampa Grindhouse Video for 1999. And this is What Have You Done to Solange 1972 right here. This is the original cover artwork. There is reversible cover artwork, new stuff, but this is the original right here. This is in the giallo category, and for the longest time I heard so many things about this film that people were saying, oh my gosh, you have to see this movie, you have to, if you like giallo films, you have to see what have you done to Solange, and so on and so forth. So I finally watched it last night. I had the soundtrack for quite some time, but this was the first time that I actually watched the movie. We have here a giallo film where, of course, we have a mysterious murderer, someone who's killing someone, but in the atmospheres of the church and a kind of a high school, an all Catholic girls' high school, a series of professors who work there, a marital relationship, some adultery, some frolicking with the students, and mixing that with some very the cliques and the camaraderie between high school girls and the secrets that they have and revenge and sexuality, and a host of secrets and even long-term effects in terms of some sort of mental illness as well. This is What Have You Done to Solange? Let's get into this movie right now, folks. First and foremost, the music. The music was done by the legendary Ennio Morricone. I believe I'm pronouncing that hopefully correctly. The score for this film really makes this film what it is, because the score heralds in the darkness in the storyline and heralds in the darkness in what is to happen next, or when a character turns their head and looks somewhere and you can't yet see what they're looking at. That is an example of the score kind of indicating to you that something is awry, something is amiss. The score for this film leads you down very, very dark corridors and dark, disturbing elements of the storyline, and very unnerving and confusing, and you are completely unaware of what is going on and what is unfolding and what is to happen next. The Ennio Morricone's score for this film has, of course, his rhythmic beats that are very suave, very there's a jazzy underscore to them, a little bit of a Bruno Nicolai type of sound at times that you would maybe hear in Eugenia's Story into Perversion by Jess Franco, those female kind of la di da 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 vocals. But at the core of the soundtrack for this film, the score for this film, is Ennio's nightmare. Dark, very atmospheric. The score is nightmare atmosphere, nightmare fuel for a giallo film that I consider possibly one of the darkest giallos I've ever seen. And I believe that has much to do with the score by Ennio's. So this is a very unnerving and horrific sounding score. And there's even a bit of carnival music in this score. It's a very that signals a section of the film that is also extremely dark and disturbing. It is quiet. It is airy. At times it's bass driven, and it's pummeling and very evil at the same time. What a score for this film. What a score. When we look at the style of this movie, When we look at the cinematography and we look at the style, now the director of this is Massimo Dallamano. He did um, uh, he was a cinematographer for A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. Um, and not much is said about this guy's name because you always hear the bigwigs, Argento and Fulci and even Sergio Martino, but not much is said about this guy, especially for a giallo film that is, when people know about it, when people talk about it, they love it. The style for this film is really unique and special. There are sequences in this film that are black and white, and not your typical black and white. They're almost washed out black and white that are very evil feeling. And then you have very interesting motifs that he does in this film. He has these things that you'll first see in a canoe and near the beginning of the film, right at the beginning of the film, where you'll have someone's face and you'll have movement in front of their face of trees going by, and then it'll just be gliding over their faces. And this thing happens a few times in here. I believe it happens with a fence. I believe it happens with people walking by, and then of course trees and shrubbery and leaves. So he has this really interesting style where things are gliding and you're just getting glimpses of people's eyes. And he also has what I like to call the Coke bottle filming, where there's that center point in the camera, right here, right there, and then everything around it is kind of hollowed out like a tunnel. And we have that with some very jarring POV shots in this film that are very, very effectively unnerving, where you're playing the POV of a killer. We have, as you're turning corners in this film, as you're going upstairs, there is such a level of suspense to the cinematography in this film. There is such a level of horror to the cinematography in this film, where, just like I was saying with Morricone's score, you don't know what is around the corner. You don't know what is going to be unfolded or revealed next. And that is definitely evident in the cinematography. There are really some, as the story kind of has some jarring twists and turns halfway into the film. This is a very interesting film because all giallos are complex and dense in story, and things twists and turns and things get unfolded. But in this particular giallo, we have like a very huge new addition to the plot point, like halfway into the film, or even more than halfway into the film, which was really jarring and interesting and deals a lot with the title of the film. This is a giallo that, of course, you have the black glove type of killer, mysterious, but his method of killing is quite disturbing and sexually violent. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to reveal things. One of the most sexually violent ways of killing in a giallo film I've seen. And when you realize how it links to the story, things get even more sexually disturbing and violent. There's no gore in here. I mean, this is not like a lizard on a woman's skin and things like that, or even some Argento films with blood. But there is profound violence in this film. In particular, one of the most impressively powerful, violent bathtub drowning sequences I've ever seen in cinema. And there's a difference between violence and gore, and in this film, you are definitely getting violence. And this is also a film that, even in looking at an X-ray or of a victim, or you see a lot of aftermaths of victims. The violence of just the aftermath of what this killer's doing with their knife is it's disturbing. And even as things are revealed in some certain sequences in this film near the end, and it's in black and white, you are getting some intense, violent sequences, but you're not seeing anything. But you're seeing the character's face. You're seeing the character's pain and anguish. And you, as the viewer, are confused and don't exactly know what's unfolding yet. Sexually speaking, in the film, we do have full frontal nudity from women in the film, with some, like a pretty sexy shower sequences with these Catholic school girls, and we also have some sex scenes, which are mostly just topless and sucking on nipples and things like that. We also have this fantastic, comes out of nowhere, guy lives on a boat, photographer, who does nude photography, and there's this one girl who's completely in white body paint, and it's such a surreal, cool, sexy moment in the film as well. So there's definitely a level of sleaze. The high school girls are wearing short skirts and things like that. There's a level of that sleaze, and especially predominantly with the type of peephole shower sequences that you would have seen in Porky's. But this was even, say, shows even more in many regards. And the girls are attractive, and this is and sexually attractive, and their bodies and everything else, of course, in this giallo film. But you also have the entrance of Camille Keaton in this film, which, of course, she was known for I Spit on Your Grave and Tragic Ceremony and things like that. This is her entrance into, I'm looking right here, and also she was in Blood Angel 2 as well, which was like an unofficial sequel of I Spit on Your Grave. This was her entrance into cinema, and my gosh, is her acting oppressively disturbing, haunting, and dark. Cinematography-wise, there's this amazing scene that's in the menu screen where you see Camille and the camera turns like this from an angle of someone laying on the ground. And I got some shivers. I got some like real horror vibes with her character in this film and with this film in general. There were many sequences I felt like I was watching a very scary horror film. And there were times I didn't know if there was something supernatural happening or what was going down. So this is a very nightmarish and dark, and it's almost 2 hours, and you get that giallo exposition of what's happening at the end of the film, and there's that detective type of vibe and police work and trying to figure things out, but very, very dark, very, very dark giallo, possibly one of the darkest giallos I've seen. And Camille Keaton's character is darkness in this film. This is What Have You Done to Solange. You'll be watching this film and you might have forgotten about the title of the film, and all of a sudden you'll be like, wait a second, where does the title fit into what I'm watching? And then all of a sudden some more gets revealed. So very, very daring use of a title for a film when you don't realize the importance of the title till more than halfway into the film. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarre YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like 1972's What Have You Done to Solange. There it is. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to check out all my other reviews and my own personal films at youtube.com/poopydiarrhea. Thank you and good night.